Welcome to week 10 of the Bill Nees' Coaches Show. I'm your host, Chip Hare. With us is Coach Bill Nees. And Coach, a lot to talk about today. Big win for the Indians on Friday night, going to Tip City in week 9 in a big GWalk North battle, 40-28. The Indians prevail over Tip City. That score, however, is not indicative to how tight that game was. What a big win for the Indian Nation.
It was a big win for us. It was a physical game. It was a game of a lot of different subplots. I think that there were some adjustments that we made. I think there were some things they did that caught us off guard a little bit, and vice versa. By the time our defense kind of got situated with that wing T attack, we had given up some points, but I thought we played really well in the second half defensively. Offensively, I thought we played well the entire game. I thought the plan was very good. I think we finally had our offensive line understanding the independent movement and the slanting and the angling and things along those lines. Protection held up. Dave was able to enjoy another fine game passing. And at some point, Ben Smeezing just kind of was getting stronger as maybe Tip was just getting, they've been on the field a long time, and it was just, I think it was a tale of just going the opposite direction a little bit.
Well, when you talk about the tale of two games, that first quarter is 14-14. It's looking like it's going to be an sort of offensive clinic.
Yeah.
And then as the game wore on, you could see, as you said, the defense were kind of set in. And then by that fourth quarter, it was both defenses were really locked in, came into making big plays, and one big play after another, the Indians were able to not only win, but show a lot of different arsenal that night.
I think so. One of the big things that we tell you, and just an idea of how kind of smarter and whatever our players are, that we had a 4th and 4, 4th and 3, and which was a 3rd and 4, and we had a timeout. And I said, if we don't get this, I'm not sure I want to go for it in this field position. And most high school kids was go for it, let's do it. And almost everybody agreed that if we don't get it, we should punt. And there's very few times that you get high school kids that err on the side of being a little bit conservative. But I think that was a good point right there of the game, where we went ahead and punted, didn't take that chance, punted, knocked it down the field, got them on a 3 and out, and then got the ball right back with some better field position. So I think that was probably one of the big turning points of the game.
Shows growth and maturity on our team. You talked about some interesting things that were going back and forth. There was a key 3rd and 10. I was sitting beside one of the former coaches, and we went into they went into their delay, and we got into we were off. They caught us offsides, and it was one of those intentional, which made the field a little bit shorter. Those are those things, but we returned the favor in a couple different areas where we threw them off, and we'll talk about the last play here in a minute. But it was, from your perspective as a coach, did you feel like you were somewhat of in a chess match?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and that's probably some games you go in, the plan's good, you go in, you execute the plan, and you maybe have to growl at somebody a little bit to get moving a little quicker, something like that. But this was one where we were doing a lot of stuff, and I know they were too, doing a lot of stuff right there on the field, not just at halftime. But adjustments as people are coming off the field. We're trying to do this, and our blocking schemes had to change a little bit. We had to do a little bit with our people up front, and they came out in the second half and ran an old school buck sweep on us from like the early days. And they were, bringing the kick out to our outside linebackers, where outside linebackers had to get that in their mind now that they're at the point of attack, not just playing over the top of the point of attack. So all those things factored in, and I got to give credit to almost all of our assistant coaches. I think almost everybody contributed something, for their position or for this or this or this. The entire night, I reminded them that I think everybody earned their money, assistant coach wise on Friday night.
One of the things before we talk about the last play, you just mentioned a little bit, was the offensive schemes, blocking schemes. You had to make an adjustment, which once you counter that, they didn't have a counter to what you had adjusted to.
Yeah, and that's a credit also to our center, Colton Meyer, who was able to knew exactly what we were talking about. We said, hey, Colton, we got to do this, and he goes, okay. And boom, as soon as we did it, it stopped the bleeding on that particular side of the play, and we were able to get about 2 or 3 more big play yards out of that. And I think if we hadn't done that, we would probably been a little tight, because that's probably one of our two or three best plays we run.
play of the night, there were a lot of them. The one that if you're sitting in the stands, if you were eating your hot dog and weren't paying attention till the end of the game, the setup with schmeezing, with running Buck down the middle, right and left, and it was Buck, schmeezing, and we're in a crucial point in the game where it's third and midfield, and you knew we had to get the ball, or we're gonna have to make a decision about are we gonna punt or not, and we call the I guess is that Buck end around Buck boot, and Austin Davis takes the ball almost 50 yards for a touchdown, and he didn't look back.
No, and the amazing thing about that is Tip City actually had played that pretty decently. In other words, it was a great call, and defensive end came down just a step off. Dave runs up the sideline, get a great block by our wide receiver, which he probably didn't get credit for that. We get a great block by our wide receiver down the field. Dave's in the end zone, and actually there was on our sideline, you could see there was people cheering, and then there was other people that were just in disbelief. I don't think I reacted because I was like, wow. Because it was just amazing. I never seen Dave move that fast before, but Dave is moving, and I think the offensive coaches are putting in maybe 7 or 8 new packages for him that he's going to be exclusively running the ball.
Was interesting on Saturday morning. One of their coaches had said to me, he said, that last play, hats off to you guys. We sold out on everything. We had our corner guy who normally commits that counter. Yeah. Even he went in, and he said we didn't see that one coming. And as it goes, the Indians win 40-28. If you live under a rock, that'd be the only way you wouldn't know what this week 10 is. It's Troy week.
Mm-hmm. It is big. It is big. As soon as we start getting into some GWOC play, we've been hitting around about it a little bit. If we win this week, it's going to make it bigger. If we win this week, it's going to make it bigger. Okay, now it's here. Now it's
we can talk about it now.
It's here now, and everybody's set to go. We had first meetings today. Getting everything set. Everybody knows it's tied, which is even more. Everybody knows there's playoff possibilities for both teams. There's a chance to win a league championship. There is just a lot of things involved all the way around.
If you're not excited and about this, there's something wrong. And all those things you talk about, the weight room stuff that you do in January all the way through. Here we are, week 10. It's a relevant game. It means something. You have the opportunity not only, like you said, to win a GWOC North title, but you also have a chance to go on to week 11, a chance to do something that's obviously a big goal for the program. But it starts on Friday night in Troy, and we play a team that is obviously on a good roll. They've won 6 in a row. They're a very good football team. What can we expect to see from the Trojans?
Well, we can expect a strong defense. They've got a lot of returning people from last year back. That would be number one. Number two, we can expect a high-powered offense. They've got a tailback that's I think maybe 3rd or 4th in the league. He's right up there with everybody else. They've got a quarterback who's gone from a 38% quarterback rating game 1 to well over 100, almost 120 now in game 9 in terms of an average. He went over 200, I think 240% against Greenfield. He was 12 for 14 for 3 touchdowns. So it's a team. The best way to describe Troy is they're a team that started off slow. And they played a great schedule like we did. They played Trotwood, and they were beaten by Trotwood. Then they played Bell Fountain, who has they've only lost 1 game.
And they're going to the playoffs.
Yeah, they're enjoying the best time they've ever had, kind of like with our Trotwood Franklin deal. Same deal. And they've since that point got better, and they're improving every week. Their special teams are solid, but those 2 guys in the backfield are really giving them that that umph. They've got an offense similar to Vandalia Butler's. They feature their H-back, and they do quite a bit with him, both in the run and pass. So we've got a work cut out for us on both sides of the ball. There's some great matchups, offensive and defensive lines versus one another, our passing game versus a secondary that's got 3 all-league players back there. All those things are all blended in as you start talking about the game.
Coach, one of the things that I've appreciated about you, and some coaches just try to act like it's not there, is you talk about what the Troy game is. You embrace what that game is. You've been here, as we talked earlier in the season, 25. This is your 25th season. You've had to play them, I think, in the playoffs once, maybe twice. Even so, you've played them over 25 times. The game seems as exciting now for you as it was on the first one.
Oh, yeah. Sure. Yes, it definitely does. They're all different. They're all unique. Everyone has their own story plan. And at one point, we were number 3 in the state, and they were number 5 in the state. And the next game we had was a rematch down in Dayton in front of 11,000 people. We've had games that we've went over there, and they might not have had that great of a record. And you could kind of hear a pin drop. It was a quiet atmosphere, but not for us, not for them even. It's big, and I'm fortunate enough that I can say that all 25 years we've played them, we've done the best we could. Our teams are ready. I've never once, and you can go back and check any newspaper article, I've never once said, hey, our team wasn't ready, we just got beat. It's never happened. We have been ready to play this game all 26 times we've played them.
Well, I know tonight, or Friday night, will be no different. The Indians will be ready. We go on the road, which is a little different than obviously playing at home. Back-to-back weeks on the road. Preparation. I noticed that we've been practicing not just on turf, but we've been practicing on the practice field on grass. The obvious thing would say we're trying to get used to ready for the footing on grass versus turf, because there's a difference.
There's a difference. There's a difference how your legs feel. Our guys were a lot more tired leg-wise. Friday, after the game Friday, I think, when you get on the turf, it gives you a little bit more spring, a little bit more, zing in your step. So we wanted to stay over there. So we've been over there now for the last 2 weeks, and we're going to stay there until hopefully, we get to come back to the turf on Monday.
We'll look forward to that. Just briefly about the Troy game and Troy week, because there's a lot of, and we were saying, it is Troy week. There's a lot of things that are going on during Troy week. Distractions, potential distractions. We've always handled that well. When we say distractions, there are things, parades, rallies. People want to talk to you more now because it's week 10, it's a Troy game, and you're walking down the grocery. We were at the grocery store yesterday, and people that weren't even paying attention to football even had we had a football team. Hey, it's Troy week. How are we going to do this week? Those are the kinds of distractions, not just you, but your players have to manage that. Always done that well, but that's something that each year you have to handle.
I think so, and like I said, every year is also different. The good thing about Piqua is we don't have a lot of people that just jump on the bandwagon week 10. That same person that has been asking me in the grocery store, how's Greenfield going to be? How's this going to be? So we're fortunate that we have that type of energy, that type of interest all the time in our program. But it's different for the kids a little bit, and like playing on a Thursday night game, like playing on turf, like playing on grass. Every little thing, kind of, you love your routine. Football coaches, as I said before, we love the routine, we love the rituals, we love all the things that go with it. But we also, on occasion, don't mind having a little something different, just to break the edge, a little bit one way or the other. So I think it's fine. The players last week, going to Tip is a little bit more of a challenge, I think, than going to Troy in terms of the facility, where you're at. I mean, that whole deal. So I think that'll be a little different. It's a little closer trip. So it's probably going to be. I'm glad we went to Tip before Troy, because then we can. It's kind of like, okay, this is the extreme. Now we can pull it back a little bit.
The Indians will take on Troy at Troy on Friday night with a 7 o'clock kickoff. Coach, one more thing as we conclude. Keys to the game. Obviously, we're always going to talk about ball security and taking care of the ball, and defensively. But keys to the game from your perspective for the Indians to walk out with a win on Friday night.
I'll tell you what. I think the biggest thing is going to be, how which teams handle the pressure well, because there's going to be some pressure. And I think number 2, it's going to be a lot to do with what's happening within the line. I think there's going to be a lot of things in the line, and we know that happens all the time, but I think this is going to be probably a little bit more visible as to who can control that line of scrimmage and that type of deal. So I think there's going to be a lot of eyes on the game. So how the kids react to that will be good, and then hit it from there.
Well, good news for the Indians. We're not ashamed. We're not afraid, I should say, to be in that limelight, and we're used to being in that. So Friday night should be no different for the Indians.
Yeah, and we've got a lot of people backing us up. I mean, the good part is we even have our friends in Sydney rooting for us. So they're official Indians for the week, and hoping that we're able to take down Troy, which would then give them also a league championship too. So there would be 3 league champions if that would happen. So they're definitely rooting for us to get it going.
A lot of people rooting for the Indian Nation on Friday night. Again, kickoff is at 7 o'clock at Troy. One other note that we should mention, Great American Rivalry Series. This is the 9th year that they have covered. Great American Rivalry Series is a group out of Kentucky that highlights some of the top high school rivalries in the country. They have cut it back. Used to be they covered about 60 of them. They've now cut it just a little over 40. Piqua has been, and they like to rotate it. They've kept Piqua and Troy the last 9 years because of obviously not just what it means to us, but what it means to this country.
That's outstanding. It's outstanding. You know, you go into it's going into a Friday night. Not only are you playing against your arch rivals, but you're actually playing for, you know, the Battle of Miami Trophy. You're playing for the Rivals Trophy. You're playing for the GWAC North Trophy. And you're playing for possibilities of going to the playoffs. So there's a lot of things.
A lot of hardware, a lot of things to play for this week. Coach, enjoy the week and good luck in your preparations.
All right, thank you.
Friday night, the Indians again Indian Nation will travel to Troy with a 7 o'clock kickoff. You will be able to see the game on tape delay here on Channel 5. Please keep your eyes on for local advertisement as to when that game will be on Monday night, I presume at 5:30. For Coach Bill Nees, I'm Chip Hare. We thank you for being with us, and we'll see you next week.